Today we're going to be sharpening this with this to turn this spatula into something of a knife. Now the Razor Griddle's got a great many accessories that go with it, and they're all fairly awesome. But I actually suggested an upgrade to this, which would just basically involve having a couple of the edges be very sharp so you can slice things on the griddle. And I sent a sort of a mock-up to my boss, and I was met with radio silence. So this being a channel that is sort of not really under anyone's control but myself, I decided to just make it and see how it goes. If this works, I would like 15% of all future profits of this, because I think this is a great idea. So let's get sharpening.
Alright, so this is just a cheap shit chisel sharpener from the hardware store, because I'm not wasting my precious, expensive whetstone on just grinding away material from a spatula. Now, some of you will probably suggest that I use a grinding wheel to get this done, but if you look very closely, you'll see that I'm a cook, not a knife maker or a fabricator of any kind. So yeah, continue to sound off about how I'm doing it wrong, but I already know, because this took forever. But slowly I did hone the dull edge into a sharpish blade, and it passed the first sort of test. And then I flipped over that whetstone, finer grit, and then finally worked up to 1,000 and 3,000 grit on my expensive whetstone until it was just about as sharp as a standard kitchen knife.
You know what? That'll cut meat.
And then we run the tests. Now obviously I don't actually recommend this spatula blade thing for prep work, as it yaws to the offset of the spatula. But you'll note in the design I sent to my boss that there is no offset. This is just proof of concept. And to cook, we're making a coleslaw with a homemade mayonnaise, consisting of all the usual stuff, plus MSG, wasabi, sesame oil, grapeseed oil. And you basically just put all that together, the oil floats to the top, put your immersion blender in and let her rip. And you turn into this nice thick mayonnaise. And then I've got a steak which I seasoned with salt and MSG. Made sure that it came out nice and dry so you get a really good sear. And I forgot to add ginger to the mayonnaise, so I added that in too. And then took everything over to the Razor Griddle, where I put the rice down and then smeared it out with the broad side of the spatula. Added some juiced up oyster sauce, and then finally went in with the egg and sort of laid it down, got it sizzling, and then started slicing it up into ribbons with the sharp side of the spatula. Bit of MSG to sort of help things along, and then the steak goes down for a really, really good sear. Give it a flip, and then this is where the benefit is. Sometimes you don't want to, fiddle around with lots of bits and pieces of food on the griddle. You just want to get a wholesale sear. So this is what this is for. You chop it up after you've got the sear and then just lay it out straight on the plate. This steak was horrifically thin, and resting time was doing it no favors either. So I sliced it up, got it onto the plate with some further accoutrements, and then suddenly we're in business, folks. No chopping boards, no mucking around. So yeah, why not make the spatula more versatile, boss? You always say that you can cut straight onto the griddle, so let's make it even easier with the Razor. This has been my TED Talk. Goodbye.